So you've got the PictureMate 400 photo printer. Now what? Maybe it's been sitting in the corner, staring at you, waiting for you to unbox it. Or perhaps you've been eyeing it online and not quite sure if you're ready to pull the trigger. Today I'm going to unbox my second PM400 photo printer with you so you can see exactly how to set it up. It walks you through step by step, and I'm going to do a photo print with you so you can see how beautiful the quality is. This is day 6 of my scrapbooking challenge, where I have committed to doing just a little bit each day to work towards scrapbooking. And I hope that you'll join me, because this has really been liberating to feel like I don't need a big chunk of time to feel creatively productive. So whether you're ready to finally unbox your PM400 or you're actually working on your layout, be sure to check out my previous videos where I covered everything from collaging and preparing your photos to print, to finding inspiration, what I look for in sketchbooks, choosing paper, embellishing, and that's all in the playlist down in the description below. Let's get this baby up and running. So let's see what else is in this box besides the actual printer. There is another box that has like cords and stuff in it. And then we have the manual, which will walk us through step by step what to do. If I'm remembering correctly, the prompts on the printer actually walk you through it too. So we'll see that. And then you get a little sample pack of paper. Now I already have plenty of paper on my own, but if you go to buy this, you might want to buy a larger pack of paper. I'll show you what I use, what my favorite is. That's pretty reasonably priced a little bit later on when we go to print. Let's open up this box right here. We've got the ink tank, and this is a full ink tank, so you should get a lot of photos from this. Now I have not calculated exactly how many photos you can print with one ink tank. I think I saw somewhere calculated it might end up being around 34 cents a print for this if you're printing all 4x6. To me, the cost of the print is not as much a big a deal as the convenience of having this printer. Yes, it's more expensive per print to print this at home by the time you buy the photo paper and you buy the ink and you buy the machine, and maybe you can find a sale for 9-cent print somewhere. And I used to go and stock up on hundreds of prints when they had that sale, and I would go through and just order a whole bunch at a time. But you know what? I like to edit my photos first. And when I go to scrapbook, sometimes I want a 3x4, sometimes I want a 4x6, sometimes I might want a 5x7. I don't know that until I start on my layout. So it has been invaluable to me to be able to print on demand based on, okay, I'm gonna pick out this series of photos to print on this layout right now. I want this one to be 4x6. I want these ones to be 3x4 or 3x3 or whatever. If I go and print a whole bunch at once, I'm pretty much printing them all 4x6. I'm not going to spend the time to edit every single one of those hundreds of photos if I'm just going to bulk send them out. So then when I get them back, first of all, the quality is usually not as good as this printer. This printer, you guys, prints really, really nicely. The color is just spot on. So that is one factor. But the other factor is they're not edited. So, you know, I am not happy with the end result, and when I go to scrapbook them in my forever albums, I want them to look really good. So that is my biggest reason for using this printer and printing at home rather than ordering out. Okay, so in this box is cords. Also, we've got all of the cords that we're gonna need now. I mentioned yesterday that this is my second PM400 because I broke my other one. I went on a trip to visit a friend and we had a crafty weekend, and I brought my PM400 like I normally do because one of the other perks is that it is small and portable. I wrapped it in bubble wrap. I put it in my checked baggage. It was fine when I arrived. I printed with it there, which was great. When I got back, it did not work. So it was like not grabbing the paper. It just kept saying there's no paper, even though I tried many, many ways to trick it into thinking the paper's there. It just wasn't having it. So I screwed up. I will not check my PM400 again, even though it was wrapped in bubble wrap. I think on the way back I didn't wrap it as well, but I've done it before. I've learned my lesson though. I'm not gonna do it again. It's going in my carry-on, or most of you who go to crops and retreats probably are not flying, so you can just pop it in a bag in your car, bring it with you easily to your crop or retreat, and be able to print there. By the way, this perfectly illustrates what I've mentioned so many times when I've talked about how much I love this printer. I've said that if mine were to break today, I would immediately buy another one, and that's what I did. I even tried going to Best Buy to immediately get it, and they didn't keep it in stock, so I ordered it on Amazon. It says it will arrive within a week. I think it took about 5 days. So if you decide by the end of this video that you also need this printer, I do have the Amazon link down in the description below. I still have my cords from my other one. They're still plugged in, so I'm just going to set these aside in case anything ever happens to those ones, but I'm just going to use the cords I already have to plug this new one in. But just so you can see, you've got one that has like the big power thing with the plug like this, and this is what plugs into the machine, and then this plugs into here, and then this plugs into the wall. I have mine like going behind a whole bunch of shelves. It's a pain in the butt to get to, so I have just left it plugged in, but this is what you'll do. You'll just connect these, plug this one into the wall, plug this one into your machine. All right, so let's take this out of the wrapper. And with this quick guide, we've also got this little cheat sheet. It's available in different languages. So it tells you what you've got. It's kind of like just a little quick list at what to do. We want to peel this off. There is some blue tape. You want to make sure that all of that is gone, and it's showing you all the places where it's at. So we'll open this. And we've got some plastic here. We've got some more blue tape here, keeping these moving parts. This is where the ink tank is going to go. And then let's make sure there's not any other places. I don't see any more tape or plastic. So we do need to plug it in. So actually that other cord is handy, so I don't have to get my one out that's behind everything. Okay, so it's all plugged in. We'll press this button here to turn the machine on, and it'll walk us through. So English, okay. It's gonna do a few things. Now it's telling us to install the ink cartridge that came with this printer. So that is this. There's a little notch right here. This is how they come when you order the replacements too. It's really easy to open. I just keep this on subscribe and save from Amazon. And I have it come about every 3 months. Every so often I need to push it to maybe 4 months, or maybe I need it in 2 months, and I can always edit that. But for me, someone who scrapbooks a lot, every 3 months is a pretty good amount of time to get a new one of these. So we need to take this yellow piece off, and then we'll take this green part off. And then we open this, and it's already moved this over here. And this little blue piece right here, see how there's the little chips in there? That lines up with this. So you're going to, I like to pop the back in first and then push the front down. This locked in place over it. We'll close that back up. It's prompting me to press start when I'm done. So I'll press start. And now it's gonna go through and check the ink cartridge. Okay, we've gotten to this home screen, and this is what the printer looks like when it's ready to go. There's just one more step we have to make, and that is to connect to the Wi-Fi. So you can plug it into the printer. I've never actually done that, but I think that's this port right here. Or there's a USB port over here. I'm not sure which one. I've never done it. It doesn't include the cord for doing that, but you could hypothetically do it if there's no Wi-Fi where you're at. But I'm gonna connect to my home Wi-Fi. So you're gonna need your password. So if you don't have that, run and grab it. So right now, the orange box, you use these arrows to move around, and the orange box is around the Wi-Fi button. So I'm gonna hit OK. OK is always your select. Wi-Fi recommended, yes, I'm gonna do Wi-Fi. Select Wi-Fi when you have a Wi-Fi network. OK. And I'm gonna do the Wi-Fi setup wizard. Okay, so now it's searching for networks, and then it's gonna pull up all the networks that are around here. So here are my options, and mine is Mammoth Mountain. I'm not sure why there's two of them, but we'll do that. Now, this is the annoying part because there's not like a keypad or anything, and there's no shortcut to this. And if you have a lot of uppercase and lowercase in your password, it makes it even more annoying. So these are all the uppercase options. If you need to move to lowercase, you're going to go all the way over here to the lowercase. So in my case, my password starts with a lowercase b. And then my next in my password is uppercase. So I'm going to go back here to the uppercase, and I'm going to go to the letter in my the next one in my password. So I'll do that all off camera. If you need symbols, you're going to go down here, hit OK on the symbols, and choose the symbol that you need. So once you get your password in, you're going to use your keys, your arrows, to go all the way down to done. So once you hit done, it says that it's setting up Wi-Fi. Just give it a moment. Setup is complete. It might prompt you to do a test print to make sure the Wi-Fi and all that is working. You don't need to do that. You'll know right away when you go to print if it's working or not. So I'm going to grab my photo paper, and then watch this. You drop it in there. It automatically detects that there is a photo, there's paper in there, and it's going to ask you, do you want your previous settings of 4x6 premium semi-gloss? I am using semi-gloss, so yes, and let me show you the paper I'm using. I've got the 5x7 and 4x6 of the Canon semi-gloss paper. I will link this down in the description below. The Canon works just fine with the Epson. You can use whatever brand you want. You can use just regular photo paper. So I have used the Epson. I think it's slightly more expensive. That's why I use this, and I feel like they're pretty equal quality. I'll leave them linked down below because the prices fluctuate. One might be less expensive than the other at some point. So they really are interchangeable. But I usually keep the 4x6 also on subscribe and save from Amazon, so that automatically comes to me. The 5x7 I don't use as often, so I usually get a 20 pack, and that lasts me for a while because I don't use it as much. So I like the semi-gloss because if you like to print matte photos, it's very similar to matte, what you would order out. So that's what I get. If you want glossy, you can certainly go to glossy. And if you were to want to switch to glossy instead of premium semi-gloss, you would go down here to change. You would keep 4x6, or if you're putting in a 5x7, you just change it to 5x7. Or if you're doing 3.5x5, you change it to 3.5x5. I guess it prints other sizes, I didn't even know, but it prints up to 5x7. So I'm going to keep it at 4x6, but I'm going to move it up here to, there's ultra glossy, premium glossy, glossy. Those are all to fit the Epson types of photo paper. I usually just stick with premium glossy if I am printing glossy, and it ends up being just fine. And then you would hit OK, and then it changes it. So I'll hit OK. But if I take this out and then put it in again, it's going to ask me again. So every time you put more paper in and it detects it, it asks what your settings are, so that you don't accidentally do it on the wrong one, because it will not turn out as well if you print it on the wrong print setting. I have found the photo that I want to print. So if you remember all the way back to day one, we need to change this to a 4x6. So I'm going to go up here to edit. I'm going to go to crop, and I'm going to go up here to these little boxes, and then scroll all the way here to 3:2 ratio is 6:4, 6x4. All right, so then we're 6x4, and you can move it up or down because the photos on a phone take it in a 4:3 ratio, but a 2:3 is what a 4x6 is. So you're going to have a little cropping on the top and bottom. If you don't do that ahead of time, then when you send it into print or when you print at home, it's just going to crop for you, and you don't get to choose where it's going to crop. So I like it about right here. I've got the rule of threes in mind. So I'm using my finger to select where the subjects are going to be on this grid line, and they are about in the bottom third, and my husband's on the right third. So that looks about right to me. And then I will hit done. And now you need to make sure that your phone and your printer are connected to the same Wi-Fi, because that's how they're going to communicate. So down here, at least this is on the iPhone, you're going to go down here to this little arrow, which is the same button you do to share to AirDrop or text or email or any of those things. And then you're going to scroll down here to print. And so it's going to prompt you to select your printer. Now the 8500 is my larger printer, and that prints beautifully as well. And you might wonder, why do you have two photo printers? Well, I use the 8500 more for like my everyday printing or printing larger than 5x7. I keep my 8.5 by 11 paper in there so that I don't always have to switch it out. And I like having this for travel and ease and taking it wherever I want, and it's just easier to use. So I'm going to select the PM-400, and there's a couple of settings I like to make sure I do. First, I'm going to make sure it's at 4x6. It automatically knows that this is already set to 4x6, but it just shows you that it's selected. And then you're going to go down here. Now I like to change my print quality to best, and then media type I like to select photo semi-gloss. You could keep it at auto select, and hypothetically it would already know that the print settings are set to semi-gloss, but I like to just do it on my own anyway. So now that those two are set, and this is how I like it, I can go ahead and print, and it's gonna just think for a moment. It notices that it's a new printer. I'm just gonna hit continue. And then you can see here it's saying that it's printing, so it's just going to think for a moment, and then it will start printing. A few things to note. The first thing is that if you walk away with your phone that you're printing from and it gets too far away from the printer, it could lose communication and then your print will cancel. Ask me how I know. The next thing I want to point out is that you can print from your computer if you prefer to do it that way. You just have to make sure you're connected to the same Wi-Fi, and it will work just the same. You send it to the printer just like you would any other printer on your network. The last thing I wanted to bring up is the Canon Selfie versus the Epson PictureMate 400. I used to have or I still have, but I used to use the Canon Selfie, and while this machine is cheaper, to buy, I feel like it's not as high a quality, and then you get stuck into having to use their paper. Their paper only comes in glossy as far as I have found, and it's not a true 4x6. You have to use this paper that has the little tabs on the side, and they're perforated, so you tear them off after your print has printed. But once you tear these little tabs off, it is just slightly less than 6 inches. So if that bothers you, this is definitely not the way to go. It didn't bother me for a while, but it does now, especially now that I can print true 4x6. But the biggest thing is that the quality went way down. After a couple of years of using it, my prints started getting really washed out, and I would have to edit them to compensate and really up the saturation. And even then it was kind of, a toss-up if it would even print well. For what you get, I think the Epson is just such higher quality. So I printed this photo twice. This is on the Canon semi-glossy paper, and so hopefully you can tell there's not a lot of sheen to it. This is on the Epson glossy paper that came with the machine, so it is glossy versus semi-gloss. But I think overall the actual print itself, they are very, very similar on the photo paper. So I prefer this one because it's not glossy, but it's definitely just a personal preference. And then if you wanted to print it at a 5x7, all you're gonna do is move this over, and you can see right here, it marks it for you, the 5x7. And then you will drop this in. I need to open it a little more.
and just make sure it's pretty snug. And then you'll go and change the settings again, and you'll want to go into your phone and edit the print settings also to print a 5:7 ratio instead of a 4:6. Another thing to note, if you have this machine up on a shelf and it's easier to tilt this tilts so that it can be seen if you're, you know, standing eye level with it or whatever. So that does tilt up.
I hope I've convinced you that as a scrapbooker, this little machine is such a great resource to have in your scrapbook area. And if it's not in your budget right now, add it to your wish list because Christmas is right around the corner. I have another video full of tips and tricks for using this printer, so I will leave it linked down in the description below, and the next video in this series will be linked right here.